24 hours before celebrating our 13th wedding anniversary, life had changed very, very quickly.
My name is Chris Crawford.
My name is Julie Crawford, and on April 24th, 2017, my husband Chris had a heart attack.
I was in San Antonio. We were actually on a business trip we do it every year. We go to the Valero Texas Open with a company, and we take our families with us, and we kind of made it a tradition for the past few years.
The morning of April 24th, Chris got up to go play golf, and my daughter and I were still at the hotel. And we got a phone call that he had collapsed on the golf course. We didn't know exactly what had happened. We just knew that he had collapsed and that the EMS had taken him to a hospital. And I immediately get my daughter up. I know something is very serious.
Okay, that Monday morning, I woke up. I drove by myself to the golf course. I got there, walked in, ate some breakfast. I wasn't really that hungry. I kind of felt like I had some heartburn that morning. So looking back, that's probably a symptom I probably should have been paying a little more attention to, but it was one of those deals that I've had it for, a few weeks, and once I would get up in the morning and start moving, it would go away. So I just thought maybe, hey, it was fine a couple hours into it. But that morning I definitely had it. I was on the driving range and I was talking to a couple guys, and this was before the tournament even started, and they said I just collapsed and went face first into the ground. And the way I look at it, thank God it happened then, because about 30 minutes later I'd have been on hole 6, and everybody that was there to help me at that point in time probably wouldn't have been there.
So I get to the hospital and I immediately walk into the ER, and the EMS driver walks up to me and tells me that your husband's had a heart attack and they needed to know exactly what type of medications he was on so that they could continue treatment. It was very chaotic. I can still see it in my head. Lots of nurses, doctors running around trying to figure out exactly what is going on, what has happened to my husband, why this heart attack has happened. The doctors and the nurses were talking to me about my husband's condition, and they told me that he had blockage in multiple arteries and that he required stents and needed to go into surgery immediately. I did not know the severity at the time. They decided once they put the stents in that they would put him in a medically induced coma for about 24 hours so that he wouldn't move around, so the stents would stay in place. And they also put him on a breathing machine to help with his breathing. While we're waiting for them to wake him up, I've sent my daughter with her grandparents because I did not want her to see her dad like that. Well, as Chris is answering the questions that I'm asking him after they've taken him out of the coma, and it's the most joy I cannot even tell you that he has. His brain is responding. He remembers everything. He remembers me. He remembers his daughter. He remembers where he works. He remembered our address. So it was the biggest relief I have ever felt in my life to know that I had my husband and my daughter still had her dad. Chris was released from the hospital after a week. We were there almost a week, and we were able to bring him home, and we very happy, so happy, but also extremely concerned about how our life is going to be once we get home. What are his limitations? Could this happen again? What would my daughter and I do if this happened again? So a lot of concerns going forward on life after the heart attack.
So during my recovery, I was home a lot. I couldn't drive for about 2.5 months. I didn't go to work for a little bit over a month.
So I was doing all errands, taking care of everything in the house, taking care of our daughter. So as a caregiver, I was 100% in charge of all of his care, taking him to the doctors, getting all of his medications, making sure he was taken care of, and also taking care of my daughter 100%. So as a mom and a wife, I did everything in the house. There were times that things were a little hard, but I wouldn't change a thing because we were so happy to have him back.
My mother passed away at age 50, which is really young. She passed away of a heart attack herself. And as you think, right now you think men heart attacks, women cancer or breast cancer. Cancer runs in my wife's family, so she's very educated on that. We weren't educated on the heart diseases in my family. Now we are, and you look at it as it came from my mother, so it can happen in women.
I had no idea that heart attacks affect men as much as they do women. I mean, it's very surprising that every 1 in 3 women could have a heart attack. You know, telling our story is very personal. It's something hard, but also I think a lot of people will benefit from knowing some of the things that we went through. My message to everyone in the audience today is definitely know your family history, and also don't ignore warning signs.
Looking back at what I went through, and then looking at what the American Heart Association stands for, what they're able to raise and what they do, the stuff they can contribute to is important, because this stuff's going to continue to happen.